Hello, everyone. Welcome to Reasons to Hope. We're kicking it off a little bit early today just so we can give people time to join. We have a very special guest I'm excited to introduce you to. So we are in our 22nd week of writing the Book of Hope together. And for those of you just joining us, that means that we are taking time every day to write down our daily 5 gratitudes, and then meeting every Monday at 3 o'clock Eastern on Instagram Live to share what's giving us reasons to hope. Because we believe that gratitude inspires hope, and the more that we share what we're learning, the better off we are in growing in our understanding of what hope truly is and encouraging one another in that. So, I hope you had an amazing weekend. I had some adventures, which I'm going to write about at rootandvinenews.com. For now, you can go over there and check out the 22nd Reasons to Hope installation. I'm so excited, though, today to introduce you all to someone who, according to his Instagram bio, I'm going to just read some of it because it's so fab. He's a bowling, badmintoning, high five, disc golfing, nicknaming, basketballing, fun facilitator. He also is a father and a husband. He's been known to collect used Christmas trees, which is a great idea, create haunted trails for neighborhood kids, and walk 1.5 miles every week for years just to give his friend a high five, which we'll have to ask him about. He's a singer-songwriter in his spare time, and he has agreed to lend some of his spare time to us today. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome to Reasons to Hope, Andy Gullahorn. How are you,
Hello.
Andy?
Good. How are you?
Good. Where are you coming at us from?
From the little studio office space behind my house.
Beautiful. And your house is in
Oh, in
lovely.
Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah.
And is it summer, full on summer there now?
It is. It was hot last week and then it cooled off this weekend a little bit. So, you know, not the horrible summer. It still feels nice to walk out like in the morning and evening, which I like.
That's good because you do a little bit of walking. Could you tell us the 60-second version of your walk and talk and no talk story?
Oh, 60-second version. That's going to be a quick one, but it's basically there's a friend of mine I've been friends with for over 20 years, but we had to find some intentional way to spend time together because we kept trying to make plans and then we'd go separate ways, on the road with different people. And we just made this agreement that he lives 1.5 miles from me down the road. So we just kind of on a whim decided, let's walk towards each other once a week and we'll meet in the middle point and give each other a high five. And then we'll walk back home or talk for a while or shoot baskets at the park or something like that. And so we've been doing that every week for it's just over, I think April 30th was the 7-year anniversary. So just over 7 years of a weekly high five walk, which makes me a professional high fiver, I guess.
You maybe, I think, have you looked into like a Guinness World Record sort of a situation?
I haven't looked into it, and I don't, it would be a weird record, but there's a bunch of weird records in the Guinness World Book. So, I haven't heard of anybody who's been walking 1.5 miles to give each other a high five for 7 years, but maybe we'll be in the Guinness Book of World Records for that. Who knows?
I think you might deserve to be, but I also would love to hear. There's an aspect of that story that I found a lot of hope in, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about it. So forget the 60-second parameter and take us a little deeper.
Well, so some of what got more attention over the last year is actually, we would tell this story. I'd tell it at shows or something like that. Just talk about how much that friendship meant to me and kind of the commitment to just doing something really stupid and it's kind of a great waste of time. But to do that intentionally on a regular basis over a long period of time, just how beneficial that's been in my life. And so different people, I've told a story and different people have had questions about it or interviews or whatever. And then I got an email from a writer at the Atlantic last September, and she asked if she could do a interview for a piece for the Atlantic. And it was the day that my friend Gabe, my high five buddy, he went into the hospital with something really serious. It ended up being encephalitis and meningitis. And so I got this email. I said, well, we'd love to do the interview, but he doesn't even remember who I am right now. Like, he's in the hospital. So he lost all of his memory. And so that might be difficult. And we kept in contact. And eventually he came out of the hospital and remembered some of their, still didn't have short or long-term memory, but his personality was totally there. And then we did the interview with the Atlantic. But part of the thing that came out in that interview was that when I was in the hospital with him, maybe the third day he was in the hospital, the second day he didn't remember who I was at all. Third day he could remember me, and I was asking him a bunch of questions. And at some point I was staying there with him at the hospital, and I asked him if he remembered the story about the high five, which we had told at that point, hundreds and hundreds of times to different people. It's at a party, it's all we would ever talk about. People wish we'd shut up about it. And he said, no, I don't know the story about the high five. And I was like, okay, this is weird. I'll tell you the story like I would tell anybody else. So I told him the whole story about how it started and how we've been doing this for 6.5 years at that point. And I remember him saying, like, well, that's interesting, and then his short-term memory, he would have forgotten that 5 minutes later. But the next morning, I had to get my high five in for the week. I had to keep the thing going, even though he was in the hospital. So I asked him to give me a high five on his way back from the bathroom. And he kind of looked at me like I was weird. Like, why are you asking me to do this? Because he had no memory of the high five. But when I got to him, he did this thing. So over the years, Gabe kind of added moves to the high five. So he would have us clap and then snap and then give a high five. And I didn't talk about that the day before. And I didn't talk about it that morning. But when he was walking towards me, rolling his tower of IV stuff, he got to me and he did the clap and the snap and the high five. And I just kind of I got very emotional. He didn't understand why I was emotional. He's like, what happened? I said, you don't know what you just did. He's like, I don't know what I just did. And he didn't remember the high five. He didn't remember the clap and the snap, but it was just a symbol of what was true to me. And that was that doing this on a regular basis over a long period of time, it was a habit that was burned into his body. Like, he didn't even remember why he was doing it, but his body remembered, oh, I do this clap and snap and a high five. And the fact that it was a special moment, connecting with my friend and knowing that those memories it kind of went beyond memory, it went beyond, oh, do you remember that time he gave a high five? It's like, it's a part of who he is and it's a part of who I am. And for it to kind of come out in that way was really special. So, the writer at the Atlantic, actually when she was doing the interview, I didn't even think much about that. It was one special moment in a line of a bunch of special moments. There have been so many special moments. And then that article came out, and then CBS picked it up after that and did a little story on it. So it's been, interesting to have that kind of attention around it.
Has your walk and high five developed anything new since then?
Well, for a while, it wasn't the normal high five because he would get lost in his own neighborhood. So
yeah.
So for a while it looked different. We weren't starting at different places. I'd go over to his house and we would just walk and talk for a little while, and then we'd do a high five in there in the middle. And then it got to the point where we've been doing normal high five walks, and even normally we'd give a high five and then we'd go play badminton at the community center. And he's been doing that too. So, but there's a million ways that it's changed, but it's changing all the time. But the thing that's still there is just every week we walk and give each other a high five.
I feel like that gives me so much hope in the kind of daily practices or the consistency or the commitments that we make. The friendships, friendship is a commitment, but to have like a physical sort of manifestation of that, it's just a really powerful thing and I would imagine maybe you couldn't have even foreseen any of that, right? I think that's one of the great things is the gifts that come from that kind of intentionality are just, we couldn't even list them all. And there are ways that we don't even know, but
we weren't doing it for the gifts. We were just doing it because like, oh, here's a friend of mine. I want to see him. Let's do something really stupid, like without, you know, without making that intentional thing. It would be like, oh, let's go get coffee. Like, okay, sure. And then that would get put off for somewhere. We do it one time and never do it again. And so kind of like forcing us into, I mean, it could be a high five or it could be anything. Let's, you know, get together and read an article, or let's listen to a podcast and call each other every week. But like, it was just something concrete that we could tie an excuse to see each other to. And, you know, if nothing else ever came out of it, I mean, the worst that could happen is I get to spend time with my friends. So that's kind of the baseline awesome thing. And then there's just finding that being open to that kind of thing provides lots of opportunities to I mean, I could go on forever about people that we've met because of it, and you know, doors that have opened just in relationships and people in the neighborhood. And actually, Gabe quit music and opened a taco shop, Ladybird Taco, on the path of the high five, you know, between his house and our high five spot. So it's like, I mean, life has changed so much, but all these things kind of come out of just this idea that we're going to show up and we're going to be open-handed to like whatever the world has for us, because we're just anticipating that something wonderful is going to happen.
I love that. That's such an encouragement for us as we write the Book of Hope together, because we're doing this daily 5 gratitudes practice. And so we're looking at your 7 years, and that's just pretty amazing. So thank you. What's giving you reasons to hope these days?
Wow. It's giving me reasons to hope these days. I mean, I say that as if there's not a lot to hope about, but there's a lot. I think in a real general sense, what I felt today and what I felt over the last, you know, year and a half, what gives me a lot of hope is my kids and my kids' generation. Just kind of so much is changing, and I'm just grateful. You know, every generation there's a shift, and you know, people are used to things and see the world a little bit differently. I'm just grateful for the ways that people can see the world differently than the way I did when I grew up, you know, and for me, trying to shift my perspective and see things differently, I can do it. But it's like, it's way harder than just kind of being born into it. So when I see the younger generation and the way that they, and this is a very generalized statement, but one of the things that encourages me is when I see people who care more about relationships than making money. Mm-hmm. You could also frame that as like, oh, they're lazy, they don't want to work. You know, however you want to frame it. But like, when I see people putting other humans above other things, that's just encouraging to me. It's not that other generations haven't done that. I just think that when I see the younger generation, they just do that in a refreshing way to me.
I love that. I've been listening to music this morning in anticipation of our conversation, and there are so many songs of yours that I find a lot of hope in. And I would love it if you would. Do you want to share a song with us today?
I totally can. Is there one in particular that was sticking out to you, or
No. I would like for you to self-select.
Well, I just happen to have a guitar sitting right here. Lucky me.
I had a feeling you might. I'm so glad.
Can you hear everything okay?
Yes, it's beautiful.
Well, when I think about hope, I think about this song that I wrote. This is kind of a weird pathway to hope. But there's a friend of mine who asked me to help him write a number of songs for a record he was working on. And the record was around losing twins. Oh. And so it was kind of like just diving into what that experience was like. And there was one day that we wrote, we'd written a number of songs, but I was kind of like, well, what do we need to write today? And the song that he said, well, I want to write one about how I felt completely abandoned by God. And I was like, okay. So we talked about some specifics. And so we wrote this, not the song I'm going to play right now, but we wrote this song that I was really proud of. And one of the things I was proud of about it is it just kind of really stepped into that place of despair and intentionally didn't step out of it, right? It's not trying to say like, oh, here's how it's going to be used for good or whatever. It's just like honoring that feeling and honoring the truth of how that situation was. And I remember playing it live somewhere, like right after I wrote it, and it was just so sad. Nobody clapped either because it was so sad or because they hated the song. I don't know. I'm going to say it's because they were so sad, but like nobody clapped. It was just like silent after, which it felt appropriate because it's not the kind of thing. That felt appropriate. But I remember thinking, okay, if I was going to write the song with the next step out of that, not that we have to get out of that quickly, but a song that I wanted to give to my friend to say like, hey, when you're ready, here's what feels like the thing that would come out of that song. Mm-hmm. And so this was it. There are endless tears and suffering we can't explain. There are dark gray clouds that never seem to drift away. There's despair in the morning that will tie us to the bed, but the story isn't over yet. There's a white flag raised, saying we can't bear anymore. There are silent nights, 'cause nothing's like it was. And our dreams retell the sadness, so we cannot forget. But the story isn't over yet. I took a picture of the Grand Canyon so I could remember that day. There are cards and letters, all letting their love be heard. Sympathetic smiles from those at a loss for words. In our wake, there are whispers that tell of where we've been, but the story isn't over yet. I took a picture of the Grand Canyon so I could remember that day. Oh, but the beauty of the Grand Canyon stretches way beyond the frame. Oh, I can't sleep. There's too much weighing on my mind. There's a bird out there still singing in the dead of night, like it knows there's a season when the sun's gonna set, but the story isn't over yet. The story isn't over.
Thank you.
Sure.
That's, I'm up here trying not to cry, and it's also like on my screen, I'm sitting literally above you, and I'm just all I want to do is like watch you play your guitar. And I'm anyway. Thank you for first off being the first artist to perform live on Reasons to Hope. This is a
Oh, awesome.
momentous day.
Another Guinness Book of World Records. Thank you.
There you go. And
Yeah.
I would love for you to just tell everyone how we can stay connected to you. How can we listen to more of your music? And also, how can we check out this other thing you've been doing for a long time that you might want to tell us about?
Well, there's okay, so I mean, like all the platforms, whatever they're called, you know, like all the places where people stream music and stuff, it's just under Andy Gullahorn. There aren't a lot of other Gullahorns playing music, so if you can remember how to spell my name, then you're probably good to go. And then or andygullahorn.com, there's stuff on the website. And then during this COVID time, really back in March of 2020, when everything shut down and my whole calendar kind of cleared off for the year, I was like, oh, well, while we're in quarantine, why don't we just do some online shows? So we started doing something called the Gullahorn Happy Hour on Instagram and Facebook Live. And we thought it was going to be for a few weeks. And now we've done like 67 episodes. So every Monday night, or most Monday nights at least, you know, on my Instagram or on my Facebook, Monday nights at 7:45 p.m. Central, we do a Gullahorn Happy Hour. Which has been fun. It's just been a fun way. I know there's a lot of like online fatigue, you know, after a year of being on Zoom and stuff like that. But I've really, you know, I travel for a living. So to have all that stuff cleared off the schedule and then not be able to see people that I love that I've met over the years around the country, it's so nice to just have that community. And I mean, I play some songs, but I'm also like, I like goofing off. So like it's songs, and then we also like have a Family Feud competition between Instagram and Facebook that's been going on for a long time, and it gets pretty heated. So there's some fun in there too, I hope. But yeah, that's how to find me, I guess.
Next Monday, will you be there next Monday?
Yes, this coming Monday we'll be there, and then I will say that will be a regular Gullahorn Happy Hour, and I'm super excited too about 2 Mondays. I think it's like the 14th or something like that, maybe 13th or 14th. I have another singer-songwriter friend, Taylor Linhart, who's coming over, and she's amazing. And
Awesome.
now that we can be in the same spaces together, I'm going to have her be a special guest and play some of her songs, which are
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your songs and stories with us today. We really appreciate it. And all of you, thanks for being here. You can leave your reasons to hope on Instagram throughout the week, #Reasons to Hope, to share what's giving you hope today. Make sure you give Andy Gullahorn a follow, and we'll see you all next Monday back at our regular time, 3 o'clock Eastern. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful week, everyone. Bye.